All right, welcome, guys. Welcome to yet another leadership satsang. Thank you so much for joining in. Tuesdays have become the best day of the week for me, and 7:30 is what I really look forward to. So, thank you so much for making it so special for me and for being a part of leadership satsang community. This is a satsang because I'm in your company, a good company, and leadership because I think that's one of the most important skills to develop. It is also a life skill to become a good leader. My name is Yukti Kapoor Mendirata. You guys know me. I'm your leadership coach, and it is not only my profession but my passion to help people to discover themselves so that they can be not just great leaders but also great human beings. Thank you so much for taking on this challenge to be a better version of who you are. Today, we're going to talk about something which is a very big question, a big challenge a lot of people face, and that is how to deal with emotions when you are in the face of a conflict or a disagreement. So, where did this come from? We do effective leadership webinars every month where we talk about how to communicate in a professional environment, how to not be misunderstood, and various other aspects of communication. What is the basic framework of communication? So, if you want to join in the month of Feb, we'll have it again. That will be on 12th of Feb. If you want to be a part of the webinar, then make sure that you register. My team will share the link with you in this live today, and we'll do it a few times in the next 30 minutes so that you don't miss the bus. So in one of these webinars, somebody asked me this question that, Yukti, uh, I understand conflict is unavoidable, but how do I deal with my emotions when I'm in the face of conflict? And I thought that answer deserves to be put out there because it will be very useful for you to learn how to manage this as well. So, are you guys ready? If you are, let's first get to know you a little bit. If you can very quickly tell me which location you're joining us from. Let's see, I want to just have a look at the location. Where are you guys joining us from? Mumbai, Delhi, Kanpur, Indore. Let's see. Okay, Delhi. Is it still cold in Delhi? Mumbai is getting warmer again. Okay, Delhi. What about the rest? Megha, I know Megha is from Delhi. Megha, welcome back. Always good to have you here. Anju, where are you joining us from? Rakesh, good to have you back. Anju is joining us from Dubai. Awesome. Thank you, Anju. Good to have you here. Let's see. What about the rest? Quickly tell me your location. Lucknow. Wah, wah, Nawabi, Lucknow. I think that's one place I have to visit. Have to, Anurag. Make sure that happens. Okay. Maybe you can just invite me for a workshop there. Would love to meet you guys in Lucknow. Okay, super. London, Raj, thank you for joining us from London. Wonderful. Hi, Anoop. Anuj Kumar is joining us from Cochin. Great. Thank you, guys. A very good evening, good morning, depending on where you are, which part of the world you're in. But irrespective of the part of the world that you are in right now, one big part of leadership remains managing emotions. If you understand how to do that, if you understand how to manage conflicts better, and in the middle of it all, deal with your emotions, then a large part of the challenges that we face as leaders can be dealt with. So I'm going to talk about exactly that, but let's first do a reality check, status quo. So tell me, guys, on a scale of 10, 10 being the highest, how well do you think you're able to deal with your emotions when you're in the face of a conflict, when you are facing a disagreement? How well are you able to deal with your emotions? 10 on this scale means you're a rock star. You deal with emotions really well. And 1 means you're really struggling with it. This is what takes away every other strength you have. So on the scale of 1 to 10, very quickly give me a number. Anurag, what is it for you? Prashant, what's it for you? What is that number on a scale of 10? How well do you think you can deal with emotions? And it's always good to have a bit of balanced self-assessment. You know what I mean? You might think you're better than others, but it's your scale, which means your 10 is your benchmark. And the benchmark should always be high, right? So for that reason, let's see how well you score. Anju, you feel you're an 8 on 10. Anurag is a 6. Bharat is a 5. Jazer is a 4. Wonderful. So we know our number, we know our status quo. How do we deal with emotions so that we know what is the scope for improvement? What is it that I can learn to go towards 10 on this scale? Okay, Prashant, welcome. Thank you for joining in. It's never too late. Just jump in. And I'm sure you're jumping in with a notebook handy because I'm going to open up a mind map in a while and I'm going to tell you exactly how to deal with emotions. Wonderful. So now that you know your number, Prashant is a 5. Let us very quickly understand how to deal with this better. If you are watching this live later on, make sure that you pause and put your number down. It's really, really important for us to know how things are so that we understand how things should be, how they will be after we learn a few things and we kind of pick up some tools and techniques to be better leaders. So look at the statement here, guys, very carefully. Dealing with emotions while facing disagreements. I want to split this into two keywords. One is emotions, dealing with what? Emotions while facing disagreement. So let me look at disagreement first. Disagreement is a good news. It's a good news that somebody disagrees with you. Why? Because it means people care for you. They care to convince you to get your agreement because your agreement matters. And that is why they're spending all that effort and energy in getting into a conflict with you. You will not bother to have a conflict with somebody whose view doesn't matter. If a person doesn't matter, if their views, opinions don't matter, if that relationship doesn't matter, would you care to have a conflict? Maybe you will give it a pass. Are you with me? Conflict is a good news because conflict tells you that you are important. You are important to that person. You are important for the discussion that is going on. You are important to be convinced. It's important to hear your point of view. And because somebody is listening to you, they realize that they don't agree. Hence the disagreement or the conflict. There is a huge myth around organizations with good culture. So, at SBY Academy, my organization, our vision from the time we started the business was to make every organization we serve a great place to work, which means a great culture. Now, a great culture organization is not always a very happy, giggly organization where people are just always smiling and laughing and hugging and loving each other. Absolutely not. In fact, on the contrary, a great place to work or an organization with a good culture is the one that invites conflict, that designs conflict in their structure. Because conflict brings in creative ideas. Conflict involves and includes people. Conflict is a good sign. It becomes a problem, it becomes a bad news when we don't know how to deal with it. Now, there are different approaches to deal with conflicts, and we can park that aside for another day. And I will take you through what those different approaches are, maybe in some other live session. But today, I want to pick up this question that was a part of one of the communication webinars we did that we do every month, where somebody wanted to know, irrespective of the approach, what do I do with my emotions that comes in the way all the time? And that takes me to the second part of our discussion, and that is emotions. How do I deal with emotions? So let us first start with understanding what are these emotions we are really talking about. What do we feel? And then we will get to how do we deal with it, right? So when you are in a disagreement, there are 4 possible emotions you can feel. Why don't I come back to you and ask you, what do you feel when you are in a disagreement? How do you feel about it? Let's have your response in the chat box. How do you feel when you're in a disagreement? How do you feel when you are in the middle of it? You may want to recollect the last disagreement or conflict you had. How did that make you feel? Did it make you feel angry, intimidated? Did it make you feel disappointed? Or did it hurt your ego? How did you really feel about it when you are in the conflict, and we're talking about dealing with emotions. What are these emotions that you're trying to deal with? Let's have that in the chat box. Very quickly, guys. Tell me, Anju, Prakash, Priya, how do you guys feel? It hurts your ego. Yeah, it hurts your ego a lot, right? That, hey, listen, I know what I'm saying. How can I be challenged? I am the subject matter expert. Or how can I be challenged the way I've been challenged? Or how can I be challenged in front of so many people, the place where I'm being challenged, right? So you feel unaccepted, Anju. Absolutely. You think that, hey, you know what? I mean, people don't agree with me. Are they not accepting me for what I know, who I am? How else do you feel? What is the other emotion that you experience? Megha, let's hear it from you guys. Prashant, Jazair, Anurag, let's bring it on. Tell me, how do you feel? Anuj Kumar, would love to know from you guys. How do you feel when you are in a conflict? No sweat, Hiren. Welcome, welcome. Better late than never. So I'm glad you're here. Very quickly, we're talking about how to deal with emotions when we are facing a disagreement. And my question to you is, what is that emotion you are trying to deal with? What is that emotion you feel? You feel very bad. I see that in the chat box. You feel very bad. So let us look at 4 primary emotions, and you will realize that you actually feel one or a combination of these in almost every disagreement or conflict. And these emotions are glad. Sometimes you could be glad that there is a disagreement, and this is an opportunity for you to show more knowledge and depth that you have on the subject. When somebody says, hey, you know what, I don't agree, you say, all right, great, why don't I share some more facts with you? Why don't I share another anecdote or a case study to tell you how this works? So you could look at it as an opportunity to share more. Hence, sometimes disagreements could make you feel glad, happy. It could make you feel sad, as Anju said, that am I not accepted? Am I not looked up to for my knowledge? And that can make you feel a little sad or disappointed. It can also make you feel mad if all the time you feel that there is some or the other disagreement. No matter what I say, there has to be somebody in the room who will challenge my authority. And that could make you feel mad, angry. It can also make you feel scared if you think there are certain consequences to this. What if I'm not able to address this challenge well or this conflict well? What will people think of me? What will be the impression I might have on some of the senior people in the room? And hence you feel that sense of fear, right? And sometimes if you notice, your ears might turn red, right? Your body temperature rises and you might start feeling warmer. You might start sweating a little bit, but not because you don't know what your subject is, but because you just challenged and maybe it caught you unprepared. Maybe it is because people around are really, really important and your impression matters. And so it could make you feel scared as well. Now, irrespective of how you feel, what you feel, it's really important as leaders to learn how to deal with emotions, including happy emotions. Why? Because even happiness sometimes makes us lose our earthing, our grounding, right? And we get carried away. And that is again a place where we lose our ability to demonstrate our leadership abilities, right? Our leadership skills. As a leader, we need to train ourselves to stay calm when things are going wrong and also when things are perfectly well. It's going great, and yet you have the ability to stay calm. That is the skill that a leader needs to learn and master, especially in case of conflicts. While we understand conflict is a good news, it doesn't always feel good. So here are 3 ways that I want to share with you today. And these are actually facts that you must understand. Okay, the first fact is this. We have to remember and remind ourselves that making progress is always, always more important than being right. And it's not so easy. Easier said than done, right? We all survive on this ability to prove ourselves right time and again, time and again. Look at any fight you get involved with, any conflict that you face. What is the whole conflict about? One person says something and believes he's right, the other one comes with another perspective and believes she's right. And here they are locking horns with each other. Who is more right? Who is right and who is wrong? It always just boils down to that. Who is right? And that's when, as a leader, we take another position, maybe a higher position to say, hey, you know what? Hang on. Are we making progress with this conversation? Because if you're not, then there is no merit in it. Let's not waste each other's time. Let's focus on making progress. Let us see if we need to create a win win situation. Can we live with a compromise here as an approach and not collaboration? Can we spend some more effort and really collaborate and maybe not really settle with a compromise? Can we just let the other person decide and go ahead with that? Because even that's not such a bad idea. And even if we go ahead with that idea, we will make some progress. A leader is the one who's aware of when he or she gets driven by ego. I do not believe that there can be a point in our life when we can claim to not have ego at all. In fact, those who claim so are really high on their ego, because it is an egoistic statement to say, oh, you know what? I have no ego. I'm not an egoistic person at all. That in itself is soaked in ego, isn't it? So maybe we will deal with this ego for as long as we live as humans, but we don't need to let it take over everything else that we're responsible to do. And as a leader, we're responsible for progress because we're responsible for the results. So that's the first fact about disagreements. Disagreement is about coming to a point from where we need to make progress. So remember that making progress is more important than being right. Always come back to what are you trying to do? Are you trying to argue to prove yourself right? Or is your argument going to help us make progress? Is there any other way to make progress? If it's not my point of view, can it be the other person's point of view? Can we come somewhere in between and create a compromise? Guys, compromise is not a negative word. It is a very scientific, proven, sensible, rational approach towards managing conflict. Compromise is when we create a half win-win, which means I don't have to go all the way with what you're saying. You don't have to do that either. We meet midway, but we achieve what is important to achieve. And we let go of a few things that are not so important, not such a priority. Compromise saves a lot of time and other resources. When we talk of collaboration, we have to be very, very mindful of the fact that collaboration is a long process. It takes time, it takes a lot more effort to collaborate. It's not so easy, right? So if you are keen on collaborating, you need to be very, very clear about how important that issue is. If that issue is really critical, it's going to have a long-term consequence, then makes sense to invest time and effort today and arrive at collaboration. But if it is not something that is such a huge decision to make, and it is like a small part of the process, compromise could be a great strategy. We come to a point where we create a half win-win, move on to the next thing, right? And that's a call you need to take as a leader. So that's fact number one, tip number one. Always focus on making progress over being right. How is this resonating with you guys? Before I move on to my second tip, and just as powerful, the need to be right. How strongly do you feel that? Say very strongly, or not so much, or not at all, wherever you are with that. And let's be honest here, guys, because whenever we indulge in any learning, you know, the way that learning gets into our system is through self-reflection. And in the process of reflection, there is no image management required. None at all, right? So the last thing on your mind should be, how should I write? Should I share it with the group or not? What will they think about me? Trust me, we really give ourselves way too much importance because nobody's thinking about us. We are not thinking about ourselves enough. Then why should anybody else think about us, right? So in an environment where you're learning and you're reflecting upon where I am, be very, very brutally honest about it. So with that level of honesty, tell me, do you strongly feel that compromise is not, you strongly feel that compromise is not a negative word? Okay, great. Sometimes you are seen as weak, as you give away. Yeah, Anil, I agree with you. I agree. But that's where maturity reflects of, and I'm again saying, leader is not necessarily somebody who sits at the top of the pyramid. Leader can be found anywhere in this pyramid. It is the maturity with which one manages conflicts, one manages discussions. It's that maturity you bring into a discussion. That is what makes you a leader. So while there will be a few who might look at you to say, hey, you know what, looks like Anil has given up, Anil knows that there's a bigger cause there, right? He knows that, you know what, we can't lock horns all the time. It's not about me, it's about the organization, it's about the team, it's about making progress. Sometimes we're just into proving ourselves right. Mega, absolutely. It's so true. In fact, it's more often than we're ready to accept, right? Being right is the biggest enemy that we have built for ourselves. It is how the mind takes control over us. The moment you drop this righteousness, the need to be right, you will invite a lot more happiness and a lot more peace and results, right? Super. Okay, let's get on to the second tip that I want to share. Are you ready for that? Just give me a ready in the chat box. Hi, Vipin. Good to have you here. Let's have a ready in the chat box if you're ready for the second one. Second powerful tip and strategy to deal with emotions when you are facing disagreements. How many of us are ready? Let me see my live audience. I love live audience because I value the fact that you make time to join me live. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, Rajneesh, you say mental maturity with which you handle things is absolutely critical, Rajneesh, absolutely. And that's exactly what we're adding to through our discussion today. Ready, Freddy, Bharat, I love the way you say it. Selective compromise should be stand one in good stead. Okay, Premraj, I'm trying to understand the point. You could elaborate if possible. All right, looks like everybody's ready. Let's get on to the second powerful way to deal with our emotions in the face of conflict. And that is to very consciously remember the bigger picture. I always say this, and I will continue to because it is just so important. It is just so important to look at the bigger picture. You know, even as parents, when we are fighting with each other, the intention is the same. The intention is for your child to get the best possible, isn't it? The approach could be different. The thought process could be different. Sometimes even the mindset is different, but the intention is more or less the same. Even as two leaders who are functional heads, right, or part of a team, when they get into a conflict, the intention is always right. It is the approach that makes all the difference. And how do we align the approach? How do we pick the right approach? The right approach is not decided by your own leadership style or your personality style. No, that's a wrong criteria to decide the approach. The approach to deal with conflict is a function of the situation that you are in and how big and important that situation is in the larger scheme of things for the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? Always go back to this question. I'm locking horns right now in this situation. I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling unaccepted. What's the bigger picture? What's the bigger picture? And what is important when I look at the bigger picture? What is it that I need out of this meeting, out of this discussion, out of this disagreement? What will progress look like? And that's when I realize that I cannot be a showstopper. I am not somebody who should create a bottleneck in the system because I'm senior and I know better. And so that's where the buck should stop. Not necessary. Because if it was, then you didn't need a team anyway. Team is when you need more people, more intellect, more intelligence, more creativity to come in together to create something that no one person can. And that's why it is said, no one is as good as all of us. So when you are saying such things, it's important to act upon it as well. And trust me, true character comes out only when you're in the face of discomfort. I will say this again. True character comes out only when you are in the face of discomfort. In your comfort zone, it is very easy to be goody goody. It's very easy to say all the right things. It's very easy to show how you live your principles and your values. Those values and principles actually come into play when you are in a conflict, when you are out of your comfort zone. What do you do then is who you are, is what your character is. And character always needs to be worked upon. There is no one character one has. Character is something that you keep polishing, like a piece of diamond. You would just keep polishing so that it keeps shining, and dust will keep settling back on it, and you will keep cleaning it up, and you will keep polishing it. How do you do that? Through learning. How do you do that? Through self awareness, through self reflection, by looking at yourself like a fly on the wall and say, hey, you know what, this was not the best way to deal with the situation. Remember, you learned that. How about implementing something like that the next time you are in such a situation? That is polishing. That is cleaning up some dust. You might not be able to put your best foot forward all the time, but the fact that you realized that you couldn't, and you realize it faster and faster, sooner and sooner, is an indication of you making progress. Progress over being a better leader. Progress in terms of becoming a better person, a better father or a mother, a better son or a daughter, a better person, a better individual. And that reflects in the way you lead, the way you carry yourself, the way you become a team member, a team player. So, with that said, let me share the last and final tip that will help you immensely to deal with your emotions in the face of conflict. All right, let's see if you're ready for that. I'm picking on some comments before I get there. But the other side, people let you feel that you have lost. Anurag, that's exactly where we need to decide what kind of a battle do I need to choose for myself. Is it about who kills who? Because I'm not here to kill, I'm here to create. And if I'm dealing with people who don't have the maturity to create, the least I can do to control the damage is not to get into who kills who fight. And that's where it's not easy to become that bigger person. But you choose to do that. And that is the reason why you choose to be in a session like this. And that is the reason why you choose to look at yourself, assess yourself. The other person you're talking about would not do this, is not here. Do you see the difference? And do you think this will pay off? Absolutely, yes. The best part is that your character is seldom talked about in your presence. Your character builds your reputation, and reputation is what people say when you're not in the room. What people say about you when you're not in the room is your reputation. And that's where it is discussed, Anurag. That, you know what, he just knows where to argue. Every time we lock horns, Anurag brings us to the bigger picture and shows that, hey, you know what, hang on, we're not making progress. If what I'm saying is not making sense to you, where do we meet? How do we create a solution? How do we get going? Whether it's a personal conflict or a professional conflict, it's about two people hell bent on proving themselves right. When one of them, which is you, decides to look at the bigger picture, you both land up achieving more. And that's the whole crux, the power of leadership. Right? With that, let's get to the last tip. And here is the last tip. I want you to remember it as an acronym, because acronyms really help us to learn faster and retain it much better. And I call it as Q-tip. I know some of you here in the room have been following me, a part of a lot of other workshops and programs that I run. So you know what Q-tip is. But for those who are connecting with me for the first time or have not been part of this journey with me for too long, Q-tip is a very, very powerful tool that can be used in multiple ways. Today, I want to tell you how to use it in this situation where you have to deal with your negative emotions, your feeling bad and disappointments when there is a conflict or disagreement. Q-tip stands for quit taking it personally. Quit taking it personally. When somebody is challenging your point of view, they are challenging your view, not you. When somebody is challenging the knowledge you're sharing, they're challenging the knowledge, not you. It is not about you. It's about what you are saying. It's about what you are suggesting. The less you make it personal, the more it gets visible to people in terms of what really needs to be looked at. Are you understanding? It's not about you. So you have to get yourself out of the picture, out of the equation, out of your own way. And now see, what is this whole conflict about? You're challenging what I'm saying because of what I'm saying, not because I am saying it. And that's a full game changer. It turns around things like that. So remember, guys, quit taking it personally. And that will be my last takeaway for today's live. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you remember that making progress is always, always more important than being right. Bigger picture is your compass, your North Star, whenever you get stuck anywhere in your life. And Q-tip reminds you that you need to quit taking it personally because everything is not about you. And when you understand that, you don't become a showstopper for your own self and your own growth. So thank you so much, guys. We're doing another effective communication webinar on 12th of Feb. If you are keen, then please do connect with me. And there are links shared in the chat box. You can click and be a part of it. Don't miss it. It's a very, very detailed course we do. So thank you so much for joining Leadership Satsang. I'm going to see you at the same place, same time, next Tuesday with yet another question. Until then, feel free to share your questions with me on my email, yukti@sbyacademy.com. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Thank you.